A very good morning, students. In such a bright morning, let's begin to learn science. We are on lesson number 3, Properties of Natural Resources. We have completed learning two natural resources properties. That was first one air and the other one of water. Now, in today's lecture, we will begin learning the properties of the third natural resource, that is soil. What is meant by soil? Do you know, students, what is soil? Soil is loose material which lies on top of the land. It has many things in it, like tiny grains of rock, minerals, water, and air. Soil also has living things and dead things in it, that is, organic matter. Soil is important for life on earth. Because soil holds water and nutrients, it is an ideal place for plants to grow. So students, soil is very important. It is the loose material which lies on top of the land. Soil is a layer on the land. It has many things in it. What are the things? Tiny grains of rocks, minerals, water and air. Soil also has living things and dead things, that is known as organic matter. What is organic matter, students? Matter composed of organic compounds that have come from the remains of organisms. Anything that comes from the remains of organisms are known as organic compounds, that is, it is known as organic matter, such as plants and animals and their waste products are said to be as organic matter. Soil is important for life on earth because soil holds water and nutrients. It is an ideal place for plants to grow. Plants grow only in soil. How is soil formed? Now students, you came to know what is soil. But do you know how is soil formed? Soil is the thin layer of material covering the earth's surface and is formed from the weathering of rocks. Do you know what is weathering of rocks? Weathering is the breaking down or dissolving of rocks and minerals on earth's surface. So students, when rocks break down or gets dissolved on earth's surface, it gives rise to soil. So soil is the thin layer of material covering the earth's surface and is formed from weathering of rocks. What are the ingredients of soil? First of all, students, what is ingredient? A component, part or element of something is known as ingredient. Now, what are the elements of soil? So, what are the ingredients of soil? An answer to this question is soil is a material composed of 5 ingredients. First one, minerals. Second, soil organic matter. Third, living organisms, gas and water. So, from what material soil is made up of? They are minerals, organic matter, living organisms, gas and water. Now, moving further, we are going to learn what are the properties of soil. Color is an important property of soil. The soil gets its color as a result of several processes. The color of soil near land surface is darker than the color of the lower layers. Soil may be of different colors such as black, red, copper, yellow, grey. So students, color is an important property of soil. And how do soil gets its color? The soil gets its color as a result of several processes. Various processes occurs like weathering of rocks or other processes which gives color to the soil. The color of soil near land surface is darker. the soil which is found near land surface is darker in color than the color of the lower layers. Then the soil which is found in lower layers have lighter color. Soil may be of different colors such as black, red, copper, yellow and grey. The colors of soil are useful for its classification. On basis of color, soils are categorized into different texture. Besides, they are indirectly useful in indicating several properties of the land. So, students, on the basis of color of soil, they are useful for indicating the properties of land. What type of land it is? We come to know about from the color of the soil. In this way, the properties of the soil such as its fertility, drainage of water, capacity to hold water become clear from its color. So students, other properties of soil are its fertility, drainage of water, capacity to hold water. What is soil fertility, students? Soil fertility refers to the ability of soil to sustain agricultural plant growth, that is to provide plant habitat and result in sustained and consistent yields of high. Soil has that much capacity for agricultural plant growth, that is said to be its fertility. Drainage of water means removal of excess water either from the ground surface or from the root zone. And the last property is capacity to hold water. What it means? The amount of water that a given soil can hold for crop use. The color of the soil depends upon its texture and its organic ingredients as well as on chemical ingredients like iron and lime. And what is texture, students? Texture refers to the proportion of sand, silt and clay-sized particles that make up the mineral fraction of the soil. So, the proportions of sand or silt or clay-sized particles present in the soil gives a texture to the soil. So, the color of the soil depends upon its texture and its organic ingredient. We know what is organic ingredient, the remain of living organisms. So, the color of the soil depends upon its texture and its organic ingredient as well as on chemical ingredients like iron, lime. Now, moving further, there is an activity. And what is it? Let's see. First, for this activity, you require some apparatus. That is, 3 measuring cylinders, 3 glass funnels, filter paper, water, fine sand, coarse sand, soil from an earthen pot used for growing plants. Procedure. Fit cones of the filter paper in the 3 glass funnels. Can you see, students? Same as shown in the picture. In the funnel, you have to place filter paper in all the 3 funnels. Now, fill the cones with equal quantities of sand, sandy soil and clay. In A cylinder, we have to fill it with sand. And B funnel, we have to fill the B funnel with sandy soil and the C one with clay respectively. Now place the funnels on the measuring cylinder as shown in the figure. Pour 1 test tube of water into each of the funnels and observe how much water is collected in each measuring cylinder. What inference will you draw from this? Students, in all the 3 funnels, we have taken different kind of soil. In the first one, A1, it is sand. In B1, it is sandy soil. And C1, it is clay. Now, we have poured water in all the 3 funnels. And we can infer that the A1, which contains sand, has less capacity to hold the water. So the more water is drawn out in the measuring cylinder. The B1, which is the sandy soil, it has a little capacity to hold water. We can see less water drawn out compared to sand. And the C1, which is clay soil, the clay has more capacity to hold water in it. We can infer this because we can see very little water has drained out from the funnel C, which contains clay. So clay has more capacity to hold water compared to sandy soil and then compared to sand. Now, what is soil texture? Soil contains particles of different sizes. The texture of the soil is determined by the proportion of particles of the various sizes in it. Students, we have seen what is soil, and soil was made up of different tiny particles. So the texture of soil depends on the particles of different sizes that contains in the soil. Now, there are various types of soil on the basis of its texture. Let's see one by one. The first one is sandy soil. The proportion of sand, that is large particles, is high in sandy soil. So students, sandy soil is the proportion of sand which contains large particles of sand. Water drains rapidly through sandy soil. It has less holding capacity of water. That means the water drains rapidly through sandy soil. It is easy to plow this soil. And plowing means this soil is easily loosened before sowing seeds of the plants. But it is less fertile. The soil can be plowed easily, but the soil is less fertile. This is because the particles of sandy soil are made of the mineral called silicon dioxide, quartz. Quartz is a mineral made up of silicon dioxide. These particles do not dissolve in water, and therefore the soil has very little capacity to supply nutrients. Students, though the soil can be plowed easily, but it is not used by the farmers. Why? Because it has less fertility. It cannot dissolve in water, and the soil has a very less capacity to supply nutrients. That's why it cannot be used in agricultural purpose. The second soil is silt soil. The particles of silt soil are of medium size. Silt soil is not as plowable as sandy soil. So students, silt soil is not plowable as sandy soil. That means it cannot be plowed easily as sandy soil was. However, it is much more plowable than clay soil, but it is more plowable than clay soil and less plowable than sandy soil. This soil contains a large proportion of organic matter. This soil contains a large proportion of organic material. That means the remains of living organism is more or is in a large proportion in silt soil. Its capacity to supply nutrients is much greater. Silt soil is also called sedimentary soil. So, its capacity to supply nutrients is much greater than the sandy soil. It can supply more nutrients. Silt soil is also called sedimentary soil. So students, what we came to know about silt soil? That is, the particles of silt soil are of medium size and silt soil is not as plowable as sandy soil. It has large proportion of organic materials and its capacity to supply nutrients is greater. Silt soil is also called as sedimentary soil. Why it is called as sedimentary soil, students? Because sedimentary soils form from deposited silt and clay. Silt soil is said as sedimentary soil because it is formed from deposited silt. The third one is the clay soil. In this soil, the proportion of small particles is maximum. That means this soil contains very small particles. It is made up of very small particles. The particles of clay soil feel smooth to touch. It is smooth to touch. Clay soil has a high water holding capacity. It drains less water. So, clay soil has a high water holding capacity and its proportion of small particles is more in clay soil and they are smooth to touch. Now, moving further, we are going to see about soil structure. Now, we have learned about soil texture. Now, we are going to see what is soil structure. So, the structure of soil depends upon the different shapes of the particles in it. The structure depends on the different shapes of the particles which is present in that soil. Soil occurs in the form of columnar, laminar, granular as well as block-shaped structures. So students, you can see in the picture, some soils occurs in the shape of columns. So it is known as columnar. Next, laminar means alternating patterns of columns. You can see in the third picture. Granular means fine grains. And in the last image, you can see the block-shaped structure of the soil. So soil structure depends on the different shapes of the particles present in it, and the shapes are columnar, laminar, granular and block-shaped structures. Importance of soil structure. Why soil structure is important? The fertility of soil depends upon soil structure. And what is fertility, students? Fertility is the ability of a soil to sustain plant growth. So, the fertility of soil depends upon soil structure. How much is the ability of a soil so that a plant can grow in that soil? The advantages of good soil structures are as follows. First one, roots get a sufficient supply of oxygen. Second, water drainage is good. Therefore, the roots of plants grow well. So, students, soil structure is important because it depends upon the fertility of soil, and the good soil has more advantages. Good soil can supply more oxygen to the roots, and the water drainage is also good. Therefore, the plants grow well in a good soil. Now let's learn uses of soil. First one, the most important use of soil is plants conservation. To help plants to grow, soil helps the plant to grow. Second use, water conservation. Soil holds water. As a result, by means of bunds and lakes, we can get water for use throughout the year. Students, you know what is a lake, but what are bunds? A soil bund is a structural measure with an embankment of soil or stones. It is constructed along the contour and stabilized with vegetative measures such as grass and fodder trees. Bunds reduce the velocity of runoff and soil erosion, retain water behind the bund and support water infiltration. In short, bunds help to support water for getting filtrate. It stops the runoff of the water. So, the second use of soil is water conservation. Soil holds water. As a result, by means of bunds and lakes, we can get water for use throughout the year. Third use of soil is plasticity. What is plasticity, students? Soil can be given any required shape. We can give any shape to the soil. This property of soil is called plasticity. Because of its plasticity, we can use it to make articles of a variety of shapes. Students, soil has the capacity of taking any of the shape. We can give a soil any shape. So, this property of soil is called plasticity, and due to this property, we can make we can make more and more articles from soil. These articles can be baked to make them hard, and after making articles from the soil, they are baked so that they become hard. Water storage, earthen pots, earthen lamps, idols, bricks, etc. are articles made from soil. You have ever seen, students? Have you ever seen earthen pots, lamps, idols? Idols means murti, students. You have seen murti. They are known as idols, which are made up of soil. So these are all the uses of soil. First one, plant conservation. Second, water conservation. Third, plasticity. Now here are some useful types of soil. The first one is China clay. It's known as kaolin. It is white in color. It is used to make crockery, bathroom tiles, tanks, laboratory apparatus, masks, jars, etc. So students, China clay, it is white in color. It's a type of soil which is white in color and its name is China clay. It is used to make crockery. What are crockery, students? In your home, you will be using cup and saucer. That is the crockery. It is made from China clay. Your bathroom tiles, tanks are some of the materials that are made from China clay. Second one is Sadhu soil. It is whitish in color. It is used for making statues and idols. What are statues? You know, the murtis. The idols are the murtis, and statues you have seen. What are statues? Third one, terracotta soil. This soil is red in color. Decorative articles and pots used for growing plants are made from this soil. Fourth one, multani soil. This soil is used in cosmetics. Cosmetics, you know what is cosmetics, students? You know it very well. Girls apply cosmetics to do makeup. So multani is one of the soil which is used in cosmetics. Now moving further, we are going to see what is soil testing. What is testing, students? In agriculture, a soil test commonly refers to the analysis of a soil sample to determine nutrient content, composition and other characteristics such as the acidity or pH level. A soil is tested in the laboratory to examine the soil, it's fit for agriculture purpose or not. So that is soil testing. The proportions of the various ingredients of soil can be determined by soil testing. During soil testing, the soil is examined for color, texture and the proportion of organic matter in it. Soil is tested to find out if there is a deficiency of any ingredients and to decide what measures should be taken to remove the deficiency. The soil sample collected for testing is dried in an open space in the shade for 8 to 10 days. It is then sifted through a sieve. Two tests, namely the pH and the electrical conductivity test, are particularly useful in finding out the characteristics of soil. You can determine the fertility of the soil in your fields with the help of different tests. So students, on what basis the soil testing is done? On two tests, that is the pH and the electrical conductivity test. It is useful in finding out the characteristics of soil. And what are the characteristics of soil? Like color, texture and other proportion of organic matter. So, it is tested to know if there is any deficiency or is there any ingredient which is not present, and if it's not, so that how the soil will be used in various purposes. For this, soil testing is much of importance. Now, moving further, we are going to learn causes of diminished soil fertility. What is diminished, students? Diminished meaning anything which gets destroyed. So, what are the reasons, what are the causes by soil gets destroyed? First, soil pH less than 6 or higher than 8. First, what is pH, students? A pH value is actually a measure of hydrogen ion concentration. So, if the pH is less than 6 or higher than 8, the soil can get destroyed. Second, low proportion of organic matter. Third, no proper drainage of water. If there is no arrangement made for proper draining of water, the soil gets diminished. Fourth, repeated cultivation of the same crop. On the same soil, if there is repeated cultivation of the same crop, the soil gets diminished. The fertility of soil diminished, gets destroyed. Fifth, continuous use of saline water. And sixth, excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. On a soil, if there is more and more use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, the fertility of soil gets destroyed. It gets affected. So, there are some of the causes of diminished of soil fertility. First one, soil pH less than 6 or higher than 8. Low proportion of organic matter. No proper drainage of water. Repeated cultivation of the same crop. Continuous use of saline water. Excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. These are all the causes of soil fertility getting destroyed or getting diminished. Now let's see who put forth the concept of pH in soil. It was a great scientist, the Danish scientist Sorensen put forth the concept of pH based on the concentration of hydrogen ions. To determine the pH of soil, a mixture of water and soil in the proportion 1:2 is taken and tested using several indicators. Accordingly, soil may be found to be one of the following three types. So students, according to pH, soil is of three types. First one, acidic soil, that is pH less than 6.5. And what is pH? The concentration of hydrogen ions. So, when the concentration of hydrogen ions is less than 6.5, such soil is said to be acidic soil. Second comes the neutral soil. The pH level ranges from 6.5 to 7.5. And the third one, alkaline soil. When the pH is higher than 7.5, then it is said to be as alkaline soil. World Soil Day is celebrated on 5th of December. And why it is celebrated, students? To make efforts for conservation of soil. What is conservation? To protect the soil from getting degraded or to protect the soil from getting destroyed. World Soil Day is celebrated on 5th of December. So students, we have completed learning the properties of soil. That means we have completed the chapter number 3, properties of natural resources. In this lesson, we have learned about 3 natural resources and their properties. That was air, water and soil. Watch the video attentively from the starting of the lesson to get your concepts more clear about all the 3 natural resources and their properties. Thank you so much students for your attention. Goodbye. Have a beautiful day.